as a owner, you should be scared. You should be like, okay, what are we doing to make it hard for people to replicate what we're doing? And that's every business. So especially if you have a low barrier to entry business, then you need to start thinking about, what am I doing to raise that bar a little bit to make the barrier higher? Because anytime you find something that works, somebody else is going to look at it and say, hey, I'm going to imitate it.
Yeah.
Why am I going to reinvent the wheel? And then they're going to take it. So you have to constantly be trying to find what that next thing is and making it harder and harder for competition.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Barcast. We are here at the Horse You Came In On Saloon in Baltimore, Fells Point.
You nailed that.
I did nail it. I've been screwing it up, I don't know, a lot of times. You don't know how many takes. This is the first take, so you're welcome. What is a Barcast? We're talking about businesses, my own business. I'm an entrepreneur. If you guys, this has never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. And so we're talking about how to be one, how to run your business if you have other people that work for you, that sort of thing. And this has been a blast. I've had a lot of fun doing it, and we're probably going to do some more locations here soon. Maybe have a guest or two on, so be on the lookout for that. But before we get into today's topics, I would appreciate a thumbs up and a subscribe if you have not been on this channel before, to get more awesome content like this.
And come check me out on Instagram. Cashier. Cashier. Cashier.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, follow me on Instagram. Very easy. So I got to tell you something. So, like, we talk before we actually start the podcast. You and I talk.
Yeah.
And then, so we never just get into the podcast.
We got to brand the Barcast.
Yeah,
more.
we do. We never actually just start with the Barcast. We usually kind of like shoot the shit a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you notice that, like, or this time we were talking and then we never say we're going to start. You just start. But like right before you started, we were joking and then we looked at each other and there was like a very split-second awkward moment where we looked deep into each other's eyes.
We do that a lot, and then all you do is lose it. You know what I've noticed about you? Is that when you're in an uncomfortable situation, you just laugh.
Do I?
Yeah.
I laugh a lot. That's fairly true. I'm sure that's true.
Yeah.
There's worse things to do.
I mean, we just developed so much chemistry over the last several months that I've just picked things up.
All right, so I do also want to make another point about the Barcast, because you talk about sort of the impetus behind us creating it. And I do want to point out, while we talk about entrepreneurship, I think we take more of the approach where we talk about our experiences. And it's really important because I don't want it to come off as like we are saying we know everything, or we're, like this is the way to do it. It's really, the idea is to, like, as we go through our journey of entrepreneurship, give our perspective and give our thoughts and get other people's perspective who are watching it and who may be entrepreneurs.
Really, because there's more entrepreneurs now than there ever has been. But I think what gets lost is that everybody looks at the overnight successes and think that this is what it means to be an entrepreneur. And what we're doing is bringing the real raw parts of it and how much work actually goes into getting to that point.
Yes.
It's just, I think it's over glamorized. The end results are over glamorized, and I think they have been for forever, but not to the extent that it is now that we have social media, YouTube, and so I think what we're doing is just bringing something a little bit more fresh into the space that not a lot of people really talk about.
Yeah, so I've got some good stuff to talk about.
You always got good stuff to talk about.
Well, so I met with a client yesterday, a prospective client yesterday, and we had met, so let me set the stage. We had met
It's right here.
4 months ago. We met 4 months ago, and they are a cafe that wants to get into the beverage industry. So I'm hesitant to say nightlife because they don't want to have like a 2 a.m. type situation, but they have a liquor license and they want to use it. So right now it's breakfast, lunch, and they want to actually have people come there and consider them for like happy hour or like whenever they go, before they go to a restaurant, like come hang out, have a couple drinks. They're in Fells Point, which is right on the water. They're in a great location. And so they're like, how do we leverage this liquor license? And we have so many people walking around in the evening. How do we get people through our doors instead of closing down?
Yeah.
And so they came to me a few months ago. We're like, hey, we want to start this beverage program. Could you help us? I gave them a proposal. For whatever reason, we decided to not move forward. But in the meantime, they had hired somebody as like a manager to run their beverage program. And I initially was going to work with them, but they just had that person run with it. So now it's been about 3 months.
I guess we should clarify the beverage program is like alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, it's alcohol. And so now, fast forward 3.5 months, I get an email that says, hey, Christian, can we touch base? And so I met with them. Long story short, they're like, we're seeing a little bit of movement. We've launched the beverage program. We officially kind of ended nightlife, but we're not seeing the movement we want. It's kind of inconsistent.
Yeah.
We'd like to consider bringing you on. Okay. So that's where we were 2 days ago. That was a meeting was 2 days ago. We sit down and they were telling me everything they've been doing. They asked me to check it out, that past weekend. They're like, see, check out what we're doing and let me know what you think. So I was kind of reflecting on my experience with what they've done so far and transitioning into like what they should do moving forward.
Yeah.
So we'll get to where it ties in a second.
Okay.
I know it's taking a little bit of time, but as I was walking through, I came in on a Friday night as if I was a customer. The manager running the bar didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
So like she was also the one who bartends. So I'm walking through, chat her up a little bit, ask her, how things are going, if they always do this, blah, blah, blah. Just standard talk. And then I hang out and just observe.
Just kind of pretending it's your first time there.
Yeah. And so I'm relaying my experience to the general manager who's having this meeting with me 2 days ago, and I'm relaying this experience, and he's telling me, what he thinks the next step should be. And right now it's like this makeshift bar. So they take a corner of the cafe and they put a table up, put a tablecloth, drape a tablecloth over it, put liquor up on the window, and their whole thing is we're showing people that we're selling liquor. And then he proceeds to tell me how he has plans to actually build a bar in this corner, and you know the place.
Yeah.
The corner where the two windows are, which is like the main traffic area for Fells Point.
That's the worst place to put it.
Yeah, and so they're like, we're about to spend like $60,000 in renovations. We're about to take the windows and put like garage windows, like open it up and like open up the space.
Yeah.
And so I started talking about what they need to do from their experience, right? And so I want to talk about what makes businesses successful. So I can speak to the bars, but it doesn't have to just be bars. I think nowadays with competition, there's so much more competition. And you can be your business can be competing, especially virtual businesses, from businesses all over the world.
Yeah.
So your competition could be in every corner of the globe.
Right.
And so what is really important fundamentally to establish your competitive advantage? And that's what it all boils down to. Right. Like, why is somebody going to choose you as opposed to somebody else? So I'm going to pause there before I get into it to let you speak.
Yeah, so I mean, I do know the place you're talking about. First of all, I think that the idea that renovation would be a terrible idea.
Well, so garage windows is a phenomenal idea. Opening that up is a phenomenal
putting
idea.
the bar there, I think, is a terrible idea, only because I find myself sitting there all the time. So like, if there's a bar in my way, that I couldn't sit there any longer, I would hate that. That's one of the main features of that place, of that cafe. I think, is just being able to be in that corner. So if you guys trying to figure out how to explain this to you, the building comes to a point, and there's windows that surround the entire corner of that point. So like you can just sit there and you can take in the entire harbor, all of Fells Point from that. It's almost
There's
probably,
it's an intersection
I was
of
gonna
three
say, yeah,
streets.
it's like a 300-degree view of all of Fells
Yeah.
Point. So like taking that away from people, I think takes away from the experience of that place. So
yeah, so we talked about that.
I think just setting up a makeshift bar after lunch or whatever also probably doesn't let everybody know that they are there to sell liquor or whatever for happy hour. I don't know. I don't know how you would transition that to like letting people know, other than, yeah, I really wouldn't know how to approach that. Other than, I think that maybe doing it from a digital perspective, letting people know from a digital, you're connected to your phone all the time. So I know that the bar or not the bar, but the cafe that we go to, when I use my card, I get an email every time I use my card there. So you got emails that you could just let people know that they're already existing there, that they're going to be serving drinks there and stuff like that. So that's another way to gain exposure. Yeah, and as far as like putting up some sort of bar, there's other locations I think in that building that you probably could make that happen, but I just wouldn't be the corner there.
Well, and that's just a piece of
It's a huge
bigger
focal point of that place.
It's a piece of a bigger puzzle.
Yeah,
Like, because if you moved it, there's still other things that matter.
yeah,
And so our conversation, and we can kind of go in and out of it and relate it to We Trade HQ, businesses in general, but like, thank you. Our conversation was interesting. I thought it would be really great for the Barcast because it's something I talk about a lot, but I haven't really dived into on this Barcast,
Yeah.
which is how to compete and how to position your company. So we talked a little bit about the horse and the story behind creating the Jack Daniel's bar and making
Yeah.
it officially a whiskey bar.
yeah.
And
Phenomenal story. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch it.
Yeah.
That's Barcast 17 or 18.
Somewhere
Somewhere around there.
No clue.
I know.
It's between 15 and 18.
Yes, somewhere in there. But no, it's a phenomenal story. You gotta watch it.
Sorry, that sounded really rude. I was trying to
That's
be
all
rude.
good.
So that story starts with me sitting in the bar at the Horse, which had been around for 200 plus years at the time I started.
Right.
But when I started, my fundamental thought was I need a hook, right? So that was the hook I created. And so when I'm sitting down with this general manager, I'm explaining to him, like, you've got to remember, you're trying to compete. You're a cafe. You're trying to get into a bar space, and you're trying to compete with hundreds of bars.
Just in Fells Point.
And just in Fells Point, I mean, you could have nearly 100 bars that you're trying to compete against. So to make that half-ass effort is not going to work.
No,
like
right.
you got to go
You gotta blow 'em
all
out of
in.
water, right.
Yeah. Or you can't do it. And I think that's the first thing. The first point to make is if you're going to enter into a position, a competitive position, you need to go all in. You
Yeah.
can't just put some lipstick on the pig. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just try to dress it up and say, oh, I have a bar. Somebody might get you through the door, so that email might get somebody through the door, but that's not going to keep them.
Yeah.
And so I think the first question you have to answer when you're approaching these things, thinking about your business, is, all right, what's the hook is the first thing. How do I get them there? And then how do I keep them there? Like, what is so great about what you're doing that keeps them there? So we can get people to We Trade HQ, but what is going to keep them there to stay? And so when we were talking about the bar, I'm like, I walked into the bar and it was a table with a tablecloth on it, and nothing about it made me want to stay. And the way I explained it to him was, to reinforce my point, was basically I said, okay, so if you're a customer and you're like, hey, I went to this spot last night, you got to check it out. And they say that to their friends, right? The customer says it to their friends the next day.
And they say, well, why?
The friend's going to ask why. Like, what was so great about it? And there's going to be like, well, I mean, it had there's nothing, right? It had a bar with a tablecloth on it. It had, the same tables everywhere. There's there's no character, there's no hook.
Yes.
And so I think it's the same for the business, especially when it's a place that's known already. So they're like, oh, that cafe, yeah. All right, well then what's different? What's different at night that I can't get when I go there every other day to do work,
Right.
or to grab a coffee or to chill on the water, right? So to be clear, I think they could do well. I think it's an uphill battle, but I think they
The
could find a
location's
formula.
perfect.
That's the thing, yeah.
That's something that they have to their advantage.
Like so then if you're trying to figure out the hook, then you have to close your eyes and say, all right, well then if you close your eyes and you see that it's busy, what is going on that makes it busy, right? So when I close my eyes and I look at that place, it's on the water and I see people having wine, right? Like, and I see people, like, I see the
I
sunset.
can see people standing out, because like it's like a pier, right?
Yeah,
So you,
yep.
people sitting outside,
Yeah.
what have you.
So then maybe the draw is more outside than inside, right? Or if you open the windows, I think it's a phenomenal idea. And so we're talking about that and we're having that conversation. But the big takeaways that I wanted to give to him were, number one, you've got to have something that keeps him there.
Yeah.
You've got to go all in to compete. And I said, why don't you hold off on spending $60,000 on a bar renovation? Why don't you try different things and move bars around? Like, that's the one benefit you have in having this makeshift bar. But like, try different things, but make a clear delineation between your cafe during the day and at night.
Yeah.
So the tables you have all the time, move them, rearrange them, pull them out, do whatever. But we talked about that idea and what it would feel like. And I think they have a huge advantage because now all the other bars are bringing people into town. How do you pull them in? And so I won't bore you with the details of the things we thought about, but really I see that in business in general. Like with We Trade HQ, I'm constantly thinking about, all right, if I'm somebody new, like we can get you there, but what truly is keeping them there? And we have to continue to think about that and continue to, as competition grows, to consider like, why are they going to choose us as opposed to somebody else?
Yeah, and I think that even if you're in an online space, you don't have a physical place. It's all about the experience, and that plays into what your client there. I think it plays into We Trade HQ is providing them with an experience that makes them want to come back every single time. Like before the bell rings, as far as the stock market's concerned, they're going to We Trade HQ to see what's going on there first before they go anywhere else. Yep. And I think what Jake and I have been trying to figure out, and I think it's still just going to be a process, but we're relying too much on third-party platforms. We use Discord, we use Facebook, we use a lot of other stuff, Zoom.
TradingView.
Yeah, TradingView. Well, TradingView, yeah, but TradingView is actually integrated into the site, which people really
that's a
love.
good point. Yeah,
with TradingView
right.
charts. So I think that's okay, but like we kind of have people spread out everywhere, and our whole goal was to keep them all under one roof, and that we're not really accomplishing that. So the challenge has been just like to have the features, the awesome features that Facebook or Discord or all of those platforms have, and have them actually be there, so they don't feel like they have to leave and go somewhere else. And that's been my whole vision throughout this whole thing, is just to have that, but it's been a real challenge. I would love to have like Discord, each particular stock that you go to search, there's a Discord chat for it. Instead of just having the forum like we have, if each ticker had its own Discord channel, we could blow it out of the water. But the challenge is that Discord doesn't allow you to have that many channels per server. So like being able to try to contact Discord to see, hey, can we make this work? That would be the ultimate. Like, that would be a super huge accomplishment if we could make something like that happen. And that leads to the experience, because people love Discord, but if it's actually under the roof of We Trade HQ, that adds to the experience. And I think that people would find themselves not so much just going straight to Discord, because that's our problem too. We have probably more active users on our Discord server than we do on We Trade HQ, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because I think that people enjoy the experience of Discord, and they're not getting the experience of that in We Trade HQ just yet. So that's been a huge challenge.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a whole nother beast. But if you can, if you can leverage Discord and integrate it, it also has it added a credibility established if you have the Discord name on the site as well.
I mean, it's integrated, but it's not. There's a gap.
Yeah.
And we just need to bridge that gap. You can click on the Discord icons and it takes you to Discord, and we try to do our best to make sure that you're not looking like you're leaving the site, but there's still a disconnect there that we just still need to be able to come up with a way to make it a little bit more flawless.
Yeah, and that's the second piece of it. The first piece, if you're fortunate enough to find a hook, which is hard in and of itself, and you get a draw, the next thing is like, how do you keep it, right? We talk about, in the future, we should talk about the iterative process, because that's what we're experiencing right now. And I have some real interesting thoughts on that, but you have to constantly be improving and refining that experience, because, to get a little technical here from management side, like in business, there's barriers to entry, and you have to consider your barriers to entry. So there's certain industries have low barriers to entry, which just means how hard is it for me to get into a business? So We Trade HQ, there's not a high barrier to entry. Right. Anybody can compete with us. Now, whether they're successful or not, I don't know, but anybody can create a website, can add a Discord, all that stuff they can do.
Right.
So as an owner, you should be scared. You should be like, okay, what are we doing to make it hard for people to replicate what we're doing? And that's every business. So especially if you have a low barrier to entry business, then you need to start thinking about, what am I doing to raise that bar a little bit to make the barrier higher? Because anytime you find something that works, somebody else is going to look at it and say, hey, I'm going to imitate it.
Yeah.
Why am I going to reinvent the wheel? And then they're going to take it. So you have to constantly be trying to find what that next thing is and making it harder and harder for competition.
Maybe we should just go out to Silicon Valley. Make a trip.
Yes, absolutely.
Just knock on Discord's door.
I'm on board. Let's go, Discord. Let's go.
I'm telling you, that would be our hook. That would be like the deal you made with Jack Daniels. Yeah. That would be like the equivalent of that, I think.
Absolutely. And if you have them in your corner like that, why not?
Yeah. It would drive so much traffic for them, for us, everybody wins.
I would imagine Discord is big for us, but I would imagine Discord views themselves as like a smaller player. Now that's good because they have flexibility, but
they've only been around for 4 years.
Well,
but they're huge.
They're huge, but you got to put that in perspective. I would imagine they kind of look at themselves. Obviously, Twitch is a competitor, but I imagine they're looking at Facebook and Instagram, so they're not huge comparatively, right?
Right, yeah.
And so, and actually monetizing, all that other stuff. So, frankly, dear, I don't give a damn. But the reality is, they probably are looking at it we're doing well from public, but what we're trying to achieve, I'm sure they have ideas of monetization. I don't know.
Well, they do have monetization.
Do they have premium channel?
Or Discord Nitro.
So that's right.
If you don't have, I have Nitro, so I can use and it's just something simple, and they have other features, but using emojis from another server on another one, and people are like, where did that come from? Because you can customize all that stuff. So that's one way they monetize. I'm sure there's others, but
and they don't really do ads though, do they?
No.
Which I can
on their
imagine.
main homepage, I think there's a couple for gamers and stuff like that. They have games, but that's pretty much it. But either way, I think that would be a huge thing, and maybe you guys will be able to see that happen. And that's the whole purpose of this Barcast, is just you see how we develop as entrepreneurs and how I grow as a business owner, how Christian grows as a business owner, and maybe you guys learn a thing or two. Maybe you're entertained. Are you not entertained? Who
Are
knows?
you not entertained?
But that's it for me, guys, and that's it for Christian, I think, right? That's all you got?
That's all I got.
We're running out of time anyways. So as always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I will see you all before the bell. MB Smith is out.